This is the 40U Tech Startups podcast. The podcast in which you hear all about the startups and spin-offs from the 4 technical universities in the Netherlands. From the challenges they face to the ecosystems they accelerate in, here we talk about what it takes to flourish and make impact on an international playing field. Brought to you by the 40U.
Welcome, listeners, to the 40U podcast recorded live at CES Las Vegas. My name is Cindy Marsman and I am your host of this episode. This podcast is about experiencing CES Las Vegas. Consumer Electronics Show is a global platform for innovation and a unique opportunity for startups to showcase their technologies. And today I brought 2 guests together to exchange impressions, results, bloopers and other insights. Let's give them an introduction. My first guest is Cees Links from Superlight Photonics, a spin-off from the University of Twente. Welcome, Cees. Welcome to our podcast. Can you shortly introduce yourself?
Okay. I'm Cees Links. I'm an alumni from Twente University, 1982, I believe. So a little bit dated. But coincidentally, I was brought in contact 2 years ago with Superlight Photonics as a spin-out, and was the question whether I would be interested to become the CEO of Superlight Photonics. And I thought the technology that we have is so interesting that I thought, now, this is too much fun to not take on the challenge. So yes, that's how I got here now in CES again.
Wow. And could you elaborate a little bit more about Superlight Photonics? What innovation do you offer?
Yeah, we make wideband lasers. Normally, lasers are monochromatic. So you have a red laser or a green laser. But looking at something with a monochromatic laser is like 50 shades of red or 50 shades of green. If you have a full color laser, then you see the full spectrum. So you see way more depth, you see more crispness, you see more detail. So what we have invented in Twente University was how to make a wideband laser. And with that laser, you can basically illuminate things with way more detail.
Impressive. And fun fact, also for the listeners, this is not your first startup that you're involved in. And people might know you from a little invention called Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that was my previous life. And,
yes.
And it's probably nice to mention, if you are an engineer and if you have studied engineering and you develop something what the whole world is using, that's probably, one of the coolest things you can imagine as an engineer, because, you have really done something that is touching everybody.
Absolutely. And it's not your first time at CES?
No. Actually, I lost count, but I think it must be in the 30 times.
Wow.
That's.
Well, we're going to talk about it more later on. First, let's go to our second guest, Jeroen Glansdorp from Veridis. Am I pronouncing it right?
Veridis, 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 all are okay.
Okay, you're a startup from Eindhoven University. Could you please also introduce yourself briefly to the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name is Jeroen Glansdorp and I'm founder and CEO of Veridis. We are based in Eindhoven. We're not a spin-out from the Eindhoven University, but we are based on the high-tech campus in Eindhoven. I myself have a physics background and started working on this during my studies with my co-founders. And now we're here at CES.
And what's your innovation about?
Yeah, so at Veridis, what we're developing is a analytical technology to do quality control of plastics and specifically of recycled plastics. Because the big problem there is that even if you're doing recycling, it's very difficult to figure out the exact composition and the quality of the material that you have in your batch. Current technologies are either very fast and suitable for industrial purposes, but very inaccurate, or they're really developed for lab applications. So they're very accurate, but in industrial applications, it's not suitable. And we are combining both in our MATSCAN technology.
Okay, thank you. First, we're here at CES. I would like to talk to you about the value of being here, being at CES as a startup. Why did you join the CES mission this year? And Cees, maybe start with you.
Yeah, CES for me is every year the way to start the year and to really meet a lot of people and maintain relationships. And I'm talking about investors. I'm talking about people in the technical press, former colleagues, and of course, most important, existing and new customers, new leads. We are in the photonics industry, so CES is not, our first show to go to, but there's a very good system here that potential candidates that can find us because they look on photonics and they find us in the booth, and it turns out every year to be very, very useful.
Okay, and could you elaborate a little bit more about this system? What's here then? What makes it so?
I mean the software where people can filter on what type of companies they are be looking for, because you need to imagine how big it is, and if you just start walking around, you drown and you don't find anything. So one of the lessons of CES is know what you want to see by preparing, and then make for yourself a list. The real other thing is the distances are so huge. If you don't really plan how to go from one place to another place, you lose literally hours because it's congested, it's full, and in Las Vegas everything is big. So distances are people are totally underestimating how far it is to go from one hall to another hall. It's like it can easily take you a half an hour or an hour. So that's something you really need to keep in mind.
We get back to that later. For you, Jeroen, what was your reason to join the CES mission this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for us, it's the first time, and it was really a long time doubting whether or not we should go. We don't have a consumer product. We do B2B. And we really, and we're in a sustainable field, circular plastics. Yeah, always the question is, okay, how much is that already evolved in the US? But in the end, our goal is, of course, making ourselves known more to the world, but also finding potential customers, potential investors. And here at CES, we're not only focused on recycling companies, but also manufacturing and brand owners that are trying to use recycled plastics in their process and in their material. And we see that is actually a category where we get quite a lot of leads where they're really looking for sustainable solutions for their products.
Okay. And did your mission, we're already at day 4 of it's the last day today.
Yeah.
Did your mission meet your expectations? Was it everything that you expected?
I think for us, it exceeded expectations actually, because as I said, we're pretty doubtful whether or not, is it really gonna lead to enough leads or not. But in the end, we're pretty happy with the amount of companies that also found us because they were looking for something sustainable. They were looking for circular plastics. So it's been a roller coaster, I can say. Yeah.
Okay, and for you, Cees, are you?
I would say 3 days. I every night I kind of do a roundup also for the team back in the Netherlands. But on average, between 10 and 15 leads or useful contacts per day. So. And
you're satisfied with that? Is that a good number?
Well, that number is higher than I expected.
Okay.
Of course, the question, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? So, well, how much is really kind of coming out of this? But there are a few really big names, good contacts, that I was surprised that they found us. And there were also a few who said, we've seen you last year. We wanted to check whether you were still around and consider that as a plus, because, part of, startups, do they still exist next year, right? If you engage with a startup, then you run a risk as a customer that startup goes under and that you are left stranded with product that is not maintained or that is not properly serviced, etc. So in our case, it's very important that we show lifetime and credibility over the longer term.
Yeah, I was just we've already had these 3 days on the booth at the Dutch pavilion, all day talking to people who come by. But did you also create some time? Did some field research yourself? How important is it to do that? Let's start with you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important, as Kees already said, it's important to prepare, to know if you want to visit other booths, where do you want to visit and when, because it's indeed quite a distance, even at the Venetian. And for us, I mean, we were, of course, looking for sustainable solutions, recycling companies. And for us, even though we prepared pretty well, also talking to people that we met here and asking, hey, what did you see when you walked around CES, was very relevant, because sometimes, the dashboard is very useful, but sometimes when you filter, you still miss things. So for us, that's been quite relevant, quite important, and it's just a bit of alternating also that you also try to man your booth as much as possible, because you never know who walks by.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, for us a little bit different. In 3 weeks for us, there is a Photon West. That's a real important show where we go with 3 people. Here, because it's a consumer show, it's less important, and I'm really here on my own. So if I start walking around, then there's nobody at the booth. So I kind of a little bit let go on walking around. Also because most of the people that you find on a booth, they're useful trying to sell their product. So if you want to sell your product on their booth, that's not something that they are immediately interested in. So the short answer is no time to walk around. 2 years ago, I went on my own dime to CES, and I had the time to visit all the halls in 4 days.
Wow.
Kind of catching up with all the years that I went and only could stay on my own booth. And I must say it was very interesting. The LG booth, the Samsung booth, the Sony booth. I mean, the light shows are stunning that they put on display. Yeah. But also so overwhelming that I'm thinking, no, I'm here to work and not to watch other light shows, so to say.
Okay. I was just wondering, what is exact the benefit of being part of this Dutch mission? We're all on this booth together. What brings it to you to be part of a bigger group here as Dutchies in the Netherlands or in Las Vegas?
That's a good question. I think, for us, it brings a bit of cohesion. It helps with tips and tricks from other entrepreneurs as well, also in preparation. That's already very helpful. But also when you get here, you can see that from pavilion to pavilion, it can make a huge difference how it's set up, right? Dutch pavilion, at least in my first time experience, it attracts quite a lot of people going through. But sometimes if you look at other pavilions, it's not that much. And I think it's also because of how the RVO and the organization is setting things up. And we also try to refer, if we talk to somebody that we think, it's more interesting for one of the other startups, we try to refer them to each other. And I think that's also, very helpful. And I think that, it's just a bit of additional, I guess, marketing visibility also, so that you're not somewhere in a tiny corner, far away from everybody that's similar to you. So I think that's also very helpful for us,
Okay.
Yeah, from my side, just to put it in perspective, I've been here as vice president of large companies, and I've been here as CEO of small companies and startups and everything in between. To give you a sense, as a vice president of a large company, you have 50 appointments of 30 minutes arranged for you by a secretary that you just kind of whip through the whole day, and you're basically in a conference room in a booth, and you don't know much more.
Sounds exhausting.
This with a startup is way more fun, but you have to also realize it's a lot of work. And what I really like of the Dutch pavilion is, everything is organized. That for each individual startup to organize is an incredible amount of work. Booth design, messaging. There's all the logistics. There's so much that comes along. If that is done in a coordinated fashion, then you can really focus on your own message and the content. And I must say, well, in particular, also the corner where we are located, we have loads of fun with all the other startups.
Yeah.
So to use a Dutch word, it is ook berengezellig. If you're a startup, if you're a small company, and if this is all new, it can be pretty overwhelming and pretty lonely at the same time. And I must say, doing this as a startup as part of a larger pavilion is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming still, but it's not lonely at all. So, I mean, that definitely helps also. And I agree with what you're saying about the organization. We could just focus on, okay, what are we going to do at our booth? What message do we want to send? And we don't have to deal with all the organization with the CTA and everything. So,
we were already talking about preparation. Preparation is key to get the most out of it. Was it enough? What you prepared? You were just telling me that you were checking out the app and seeing who's there, and already making a plan on who you want to talk to. Was that enough, or?
I have to say it's hard to judge because for us it's the first time, so it was already we really didn't know what to expect beforehand. But I think a couple of things that were really important for us is, on the one hand, that we checked out, okay, if we want to visit somewhere, where do we want to visit? And in terms of preparation, also for our booth, we felt it was very important to have something that, something like an eye catcher. Because we are, as I said, we're not a B2C product. A lot of the leads that we're getting are through talking to somebody that's not directly relevant, but they might know somebody, and that person will come by later because they're also at the CES. So we're really trying to draw people in with something catching the eye. I think that's working quite well, but I think we'll only know for sure maybe next year or the year after whether or not preparations is optimal or not.
Yeah, but at this point there are no big mistakes from your part that you're saying, hey, I really should have done this different.
Maybe bring more business cards and flyers even, because we thought we brought too much, but I think we might run out before the day is over. So
okay, well, that's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
And for you, Cees?
Yeah.
So experienced?
Yeah. Well, you can always better prepare. Yeah. But I feel like we're well prepared. The booth was up and running in literally 5 minutes because everything worked fine.
Oh, that's good.
But you also need to just experience it a little bit. Yeah. You cannot everything control. You cannot plan everything. So, but what you can plan for, that's what you really should do.
And every CES has its surprises, of course. Do you already have some memorable stories or moments that stood out for you, being here last week?
Ooh, that's a
that's a good question.
No.
Yeah, I mean, for us, just the scale of Las Vegas and everything that's already was different than we thought it would be. So that's, I guess, the first surprise.
Yeah, it's the first time.
For
I
us.
can imagine. It's
overwhelming.
We were in the hotel and we're like, oh, we can already see the Las Vegas Sphere, so we're pretty close, and then it's 40 minutes walking. So that's that's quite a surprise. I think at the pavilion, I mean, I think how loud it is was also surprising to us. We were not as prepared, I guess, for how much of a loud environment it was and how much of a high energy it was, I think. Even though you expect something like that when you go to a show like this, but still it was, I think, more than at least I expected.
Yeah, you see the advantage in some other shows. They have very high ceilings, but we are in the basement of the Venetian, and the ceiling is quite low. And it makes it very tiring to talk with people in all the noise. So you really get exhausted.
Yeah, and for us, we went straight through the main entrance to our booth, basically. And only on the third day, I went upstairs for the first time. And then that was really surprising for me, that it was like...
way more quiet.
Yeah, way more quiet, but also like even much more huge than I already thought. Yeah.
And the Venetian where we are is just
still
compared
small.
to the main Las Vegas convention
Yeah.
center, which is I mean, it's like at least 5 times as large.
Yeah.
So that's in terms of
Impressive.
an idea.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
But CES isn't only about the convention, of course. It's also about the city. I was just wondering, it's your first time here in Las Vegas, or maybe you were here before for other reasons. But did you have some time exploring the city next to being at the convention center?
Yeah, so it's the first time in Las Vegas, indeed. Been to the US a couple times before, but it's not at all like Las Vegas. It's completely different. We flew in on Saturday because, we tried to already get rid of a little bit of jet lag before the actual show starts. So the first day we did a couple of fun things. We went to the Strip, of course, went to downtown as well to get a little bit of a different vibe than just the Las Vegas Strip. You can do a lot of fun things here. We did, for example, golfing on a driving range. It's a lot of fun. So we try also to put in some fun things in between all the work. Yeah.
Okay, and you, Cees?
Yeah, I'm completely the opposite. Because and I don't want to kind of sound pedantic about it, but I've seen already so many shows and around Las Vegas, Zion Park, Bryce Canyon. The first years, I went, days earlier and I stayed days after. But now I'm in the really States. I'm here to work. I kind of try to disassociate as much as possible from all the noise because we have a business to run, and in 3 weeks we're back in another trade show. It's like so I skipped the play for the last few times and do less of those things. I've seen the gambling tables enough now. It's enough is enough.
Yeah. So next week you're home again in the Netherlands. What will you take home as it comes to results, experiences, follow-ups?
Yeah, so I think for us, we're trying to follow up with a short message as soon as possible, within 24 hours if we can, just so that people, they remember you, they get a little bit of more information about you, and then next week we'll do more in-depth follow-ups, I guess. Then we'll only really find out, okay, how valuable are each of the leads, because, a lot of people give their business card or give some information, but they won't reply. Other than that, I think we got quite some insights also of how relevant the US market is for us. Recycling is still very much developing, but manufacturing is already quite big here, and there's more movement towards using circular materials than I originally expected. So that's something that's
positive.
Yeah, that's for us. That's a big positive, and we also got more insight into the Asian market than I expected originally. So those are both very valuable, and I think also we got quite a lot of leads also from people that are actually based in Europe. So for us, that's also very relevant because the European market is the biggest for us, and that's all makes it also easier to do better follow-ups. Yeah.
Yeah, that last thing is interesting. You meet companies from Europe and from even the Netherlands that you kind of otherwise probably would not even find out. So that's definitely one of the things. And for the rest, very much the same, right? It's lead follow up. Some leads are hot. You prioritize them. Some leads are a little bit slower, and then you kind of move that out. But that starts immediately back on Monday in the office, so to say. Yeah.
Oh, good luck with that. I think we're almost there with this podcast. But do you have some last advice for startups who will join the CES mission next year?
Well, as we already said, preparation is key. Also, something I underestimate a little bit is the climate here. It's very dry, so preparing for that is also very, very useful. And other than that, I would also say, just enjoy it. Try to, be positive all the time, because that's also what people respond to a lot. If you just saying hi in a positive way to people already draws in people to your booth that almost walked by already. So I think be very engaging. I think that's an advice that I would give. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's sales. Huh? So what you are here for is selling your company, selling your product, learn from the feedback. So that's actually the key message. Preparation was mentioned, and I just want to mention in that light RVO and to a certain extent novelty as well. The organization in the preparation, so helping startups with their key messaging, with how to formulate things. In particular, if you are a new startup, what some people think is that you have a product that the market is waiting for. But in reality, people have other things on their mind than your product. So you need to really open the door and get them interested. Now, people are open-minded, curious, so that's not the issue. The issue is, can you catch them with the first sentence? Can you draw them in with the first sentence? And that are all kind of things that you can learn if you prepare well.
Thanks for these tips and your advice and giving us all these insights on CES Las Vegas.
You're welcome.
And good luck with your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for joining today, and good luck on your last day at CES Las Vegas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.